Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News Today starts now.
Well, good morning to you, Mid-Missouri. Today is Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. I'm Jordan Berger. Thanks for waking up with us.
Yeah, and I'm Tim Schmidt. The heat advisories, they continue for today and tomorrow. The dangerous heat still with us for the afternoons and evenings. And guys, we did not cool off at all last night. We're still in the 70s for temperature. We're still almost near 80 degrees for temperatures. And now that we just hit 6 o'clock, we're on to the warm up again. That heat advisory, it continues until Wednesday evening. Current temperatures outside right now around 77 to 79 degrees. We're still at 81 in Jefferson City. 81 is the temperature in Kansas City and St. Louis. So quite warm conditions sticking around this morning. And again, we did not cool off through the night, which likely means new temperature records just got set for the mornings. Right now, look at that forecast and a high of about 95 to 96 this afternoon, feeling like we're in the 100s. There are some signs of relief in the forecast, and I'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Tim, thank you. Well, if you're struggling to stay cool in the hot weather, don't forget there are cooling centers that are open in Columbia. Those centers include the ARC on West Ash Street, the City Hall on East Broadway, the Health Department on West Worley Street, and the Columbia Public Library on West Broadway. Those are all open during normal business hours. You could find yourself paying more for bags of ice. KOMU 8 spoke with the owner of Hilke's Ice Company in Osage County. They told us that higher temperatures mean more expensive ice, and when you're making 400,000 pounds of ice on a hot day, high temperatures mean higher operation costs for air conditioning and equipment upkeep as well. This, along with rising costs of fuel, have made Hilke raise the costs of their ice twice this year.
Everything's got to go into the price of your product. It's all got to go in. And that's the same with us high fuel prices.
The ice company owner expects the demand for ice to last through the summer months. Now to Washington, D.C. You're taking a live look at the U.S. Capitol right now, where the House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot held its second public hearing yesterday. Now, the hearing focused on former President Donald Trump's efforts to spread false information to overturn the 2020 election. The committee relied on taped testimony of top Trump campaign staff. The staff urged caution as the former president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, pushed Trump to declare victory, even as election night returns showed Joe Biden winning. Now, former Attorney General Bill Barr testified it was like playing whack-a-mole trying to keep up with fraud allegations under the Trump administration.
Also, I was influenced by the fact that all the early claims that I understood were completely bogus and silly and usually based on complete misinformation. And so I didn't consider the quality of claims right out of the box to give me any, feeling that there was really substance here.
Barr testified he never felt Trump gave an indication of being interested in the actual facts surrounding the election. Meanwhile, the chair of the January 6th committee says the panel will not make any criminal referrals because it doesn't have that authority. Former Trump campaign manager Bill Stepien didn't testify at yesterday's hearing as was expected. Instead, the committee used video clips from previous interviews with Stepien, which you can see here. Stepien's lawyer says the former campaign manager did not appear before the committee because Stepien's wife went into labor.
Mr. Stepien was here in town with me preparing for his testimony in response to the subpoena. Got a call this morning at about 6 o'clock telling him that she had gone into labor and was advised to get to the hospital immediately.
The next public hearing of the January 6th committee is happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Joe Biden still plans to run for re-election in 2024. Yesterday, she dismissed concerns that president's age or stamina might pose a challenge for his re-election bid.
The president, as you know, has been asked that question many times, and he has answered it. His answer has been pretty simple, which is, yes, he's running for re-election.
She reiterated this in a tweet that says, quote, "To be clear, the president has said repeatedly he plans to run again in 2024. Meanwhile, Senator Bernie Sanders is not looking to run for president against Joe Biden. The Vermont Independent says he would support the president if he ran again in 2024. But some Democrats are uncertain whether Biden should seek a second term, considering he's 79 years old. In other national news, officials from the State Department met yesterday with Brittany Griner's WNBA teammates to update them on her detention in Russia and efforts to bring her home. The player has been detained for 117 days in Russia. Her coach expressed confidence in the State Department's and federal government's efforts to bring her home.
I mean, I think it's something that we've all talked about intimately as a group, and now knowing that the State Department and pretty much the whole world is on this, I think gives us a lot of confidence knowing that they're working on it, and anything that we can do on our side to amplify and to put BG first is going to be our #1 priority.
Last month, federal officials confirmed Griner is being wrongfully detained in Russia. She was accused of drug smuggling by Russian authorities for having a vaping device in her luggage. The Office of the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs is now handling her case. One couple is claiming Instagram gave their daughter an eating disorder. They filed a lawsuit against Instagram and Facebook's parent company, Meta. The suit claims the now 19-year-old started using Instagram when she was 11, which is 2 years younger than the platform's required minimum age. The parents say she started to become consumed by the social media platform, and it led to addiction, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and suicide ideation. Their complaint cites the Facebook papers, which showed the company was aware that Instagram negatively impacted the body image of 1 in 3 teens who used the platform. Officials released the autopsy results for 14-year-old Tyree Sampson, who died after slipping out of his seat in a Florida amusement park ride. A report from the Orange County Medical Examiner's Office said the St. Louis teen died of blunt force trauma. It also found that Sampson exceeded the ride's weight limit by nearly 100 pounds, but the medical examiner ruled his death was an accident. In April, a firm hired by the state to investigate the death found adjustments had been made to Sampson's seat and one other. It allowed a bigger gap between the harness and the seat itself. Sampson's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit. Over the weekend, a bipartisan group of U.S. senators, including Missouri Senator Roy Blunt, agreed on a narrow set of gun safety measures that they hope to get approved by Congress. As we told you yesterday, the plan would give incentives for states to set up red flag laws that would allow courts to take guns away from people deemed dangerous. Among other things, it would also invest in mental health, suicide prevention, and school safety. Meanwhile, last June, Missouri enacted the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It bans state and local police officers from enforcing any federal laws that go beyond state statutes.
At the end of the day, you can really only serve one master, and our local law enforcement has one law to worry about, and that is Missouri law.
It's very obvious that this is stupid, frankly, but all to make a political statement of, hey, we're Missouri, we value our guns.
Now, several gun advocacy groups rank Missouri among the most lenient states in the country in terms of gun protection laws. People can buy and own a gun here without a license. There are no state-required background checks or registrations. You can conceal and carry without a permit, and there are no ghost gun regulations either. Well, now to a traffic alert. Starting today, MoDOT will be working to replace pavement in Macon County. Route YY will be closed from US 63 to Mahogany Street. That work will start at 7 a.m. and finish at 4 p.m. until Thursday. Route V will be closed next week, starting June 21st until June 23rd. Well, check this out. The staff at a California zoo had to do an unusual rescue over the weekend. Take a look at this video to find out what does not belong inside the gorilla's enclosure. One dog ended up stuck there. Zoo officials say 2 dogs got loose inside the San Diego Zoo, and one of them jumped inside the gorilla's habitat. Wildlife care specialists moved the 2 gorillas out of the area so workers could get the dog. The zoo says the dog was safely rescued and no one was injured. We don't know where the dogs came from or if their owner was at the zoo. I feel like that is kind of a social faux pas. Don't bring your dog to the zoo if you don't have to.
Yeah, maybe they got loose or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? I want to bring a traffic update for you. This is just at the Roachport exit on I-70, a tractor-trailer fire. I believe in the westbound lane is what the video here is describing. So there's going to be some issues there heading westbound from Columbia toward Boonville. If you're taking I-70, you might want to seek a different route. I don't know if they're directing traffic or not away from there, but we'll get some additional info in that as the morning goes on. Look at your forecast for today is coming up.
Well, as Tim has been telling us, the hot weather means you need to pay closer attention to your body. Coming up, we have some recommendations from a doctor to help keep you safe in this heat. But first, that's a live look over downtown Columbia at 6:09 on this Tuesday morning. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Yellowstone officials are assessing the damage caused by flooding that forced the evacuation of parts of the iconic national park. That's heartbreaking to see. That building collapsed into the rapidly moving floodwaters of the Yellowstone River. A torrent of rain combined with a rapidly melting snowpack caused yesterday's flooding. That cut off electricity and forced the closure of all entrances to the park just as the summer tourism season ramps up. Thankfully, there were no immediate reports of any injuries. But Tim, as I said, it's heartbreaking to see people's homes being washed away.
Yeah, that was a crazy sight, and a lot of rain fell in parts of Wyoming, the Dakotas, and areas to our north.
All right, thanks, Tim. Well, with this week's forecast, you might want to take more heat safety precautions. KOMU 8's Vivian Potter joins us live from Stevens Lake Park with more on that story. Vivian, good morning to you. So what are some things that we can do to stay safe in this weather?
Good morning, Jordan. Heat is the #1 weather-related killer in the U.S. If you are experiencing symptoms such as dizziness, excessive sweating, and rapid pulse, it is important that you get to a cool area. This includes an air-conditioned facility, a cool car, or under some shade. If symptoms continue even after cooling down, or if you are experiencing confusion and unconsciousness, you should call 911 and get evaluated at a hospital. Christopher Sampson, an emergency physician for MU Health, has some tips for this weather.
Even before going out, you want to make sure that you're well hydrated. So sometimes that's making sure you're starting the day off with drinking plenty of water. Because if you're outside and you start feeling thirsty, then you're already really behind the game and a bit dehydrated.
For more information on heat-related symptoms and strategies to stay safe this week, visit us at KOMU.com. Reporting live from Stevens Lake Park, Vivian Potter, KOMU 8 News.
Thanks, Vivian. In other news, the national tampon shortage has made its way to mid-Missouri. KOMU 8 spoke with someone from the Salvation Army in Columbia who says the shortage is causing concern. The shelter usually relies on donations for tampons. Right now, the shelter has enough supply for the 12 women staying there, but the manager of that shelter says she's planning on buying more just in case.
It will drastically affect our program because we live off of donations, and basically everything we get is through donations. And if people not able to afford Tampons, then that will drastically hurt our clientele.
Now, we also spoke to the True North Women's Shelter in Columbia, and they say they're not as concerned. The executive director says they have around a month's worth of tampons from previous donations. You can find a link to learn how to donate tampons to those shelters over on KOMU.com. Well, Americans are facing a triple threat to their finances. U.S. stocks have dipped into a bear market, and some economists say a recession is likely. Yesterday's closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange is causing concern. The numbers for the S&P 500 signal a bear market. That means the index has dipped at least 20% below its most recent high, and investors are worried that the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates tomorrow. The reason is inflation, and the White House says it's watching the situation closely.
I think the way that we see this is that the American people are well positioned to face these challenges because of the economic historic gains that we have made under this president in the last 16 months.
Financial advisors are reminding investors not to panic. Pilots at 2 of American Airlines' regional airlines will soon see a pay increase. It will be a 50% increase that will take place through the end of August of 2024. That means new hire first officers in their first year of flying at Piedmont Airlines and Envoy Air will be making $90 per hour. That's up from $51 an hour. For first-year captains, the pay will be $146 per hour, up from $78. The increase would make the pilots the highest paid of the U.S. regional airlines. One Florida teen has some tough decisions to make. Ashley Adirka was accepted into all 8 Ivy League schools, plus 7 other universities. The 17-year-old has gotten into Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, Penn, Princeton, and Yale. Her mom emigrated from the U.S. to the U.S. from Nigeria 3 decades ago. She graduated from Miami Beach Senior High School just this month. Congratulations to her. I'm so excited for all the opportunities ahead for her.
And she has a bunch of decisions to make. She gets to basically turn down some really prestigious places, so that's fun.
Yeah.
I'll look at our SunSense number, and it's brought to you by KC Dermatology Center and Medical Spa. It's up near a 10 for your UV index for today. The sunburn times will be 15 minutes or less for the remainder of the week. Coming up, a look at how long this heat's going to last in central Missouri.
This weekend, the nation celebrates Juneteenth. After the break, we'll tell you about some of the events that are happening in mid-Missouri for the holiday. But first, you're looking live over the Columbia Regional Airport at 6:20. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Your time is 6:23 now. Jefferson City has a series of events planned to celebrate Juneteenth. The holiday commemorates the day that slaves in the U.S. were notified of their freedom. One of the main events held every day this week is a dance camp and youth conference for kids in the area. The camp has been held for years, but since COVID, they've had trouble getting a good turnout. This year, it's being hosted in person at Building Community Bridges Community Center. The dance coordinator for the Juneteenth events says she has high hopes for the program.
It's just a fun time. It's a fun time for kids to be themselves. It's a fun time to hear about history because we're not going to bog you down with history. We're going to make it fun. And then just to be outside doing something because we haven't for 2 years.
Sounds like a lot of fun. The citywide Juneteenth Heritage Festival kicks off in the community park at 11 a.m. Until then, other events this week include a pageant, a movie night, and a freedom march. For more information on the events and schedule, head over to KOMU.com.
All right, now traffic alert still for you. This is on westbound I-70 at the Roachport exit. That's where there's currently a tractor trailer fire. It looks like crews have put out the fire, but they're still tending to that issue, and there might be some issues trying to get on that exit for Route BB. That's County Road BB there. So it looks like there could be some issues there on your westbound travels. Doesn't look like that's directly on the interstate itself. No immediate issues there or slowdowns. It's just trying to get on the exit itself. Probably not going to be able to do that. Here's a look at those heat alerts that are still in effect for the next 2 days. We have heat advisories in effect for all of central Missouri until tomorrow evening. St. Louis area and most of Illinois under excessive heat warnings through tomorrow evening. We have a lot of heat and humidity to get through. Dangerous levels of that heat continue at least through tomorrow. We do start to see a reduction of the heat index values into Friday and Saturday of this upcoming weekend. Still a lot of sunshine to get through, not a lot of rain. The next rain chance might be Wednesday night with the passing cold front. It's not going to be a strong one, but it does bring in some rain chances. And look at that 8-day forecast. It's about a 20 to 30% chance for rain Wednesday night through Thursday morning. You will notice the temperatures are still in the 90s, but the dew point values will be a little lower. So hopefully that means the heat index will not be as high. Still looking at a heat index of around 104 to 105 today, only around 100 tomorrow, and then only in the 90s for the remainder of the week.
All right, well, let's take a live look over mid-Missouri right now. The time is 6:26. Here's downtown Columbia. We'll be right back.